This June is Men's Health Month, and we're acknowledging advancements in healthcare prevention today with a panel of experts hosted by Beurer, a global company that is over 100 years old and has brought hundreds of digital wellness innovations to the US, including the #1 blood pressure monitor at Walmart, TENS technology, and other tech that has totally digitized the medicine cabinet. So today we're going to hear insights from top doctors. We have a cardiologist, Dr. Patrick Fratellone, a urologist, Dr. Justin Dubin, a primary care physician, Dr. Matthew Mintz, and we also have a specialist from Beurer North America, Leticia Trevino. So I'm going to let all of our panelists introduce themselves and tell us about their area of expertise. And why don't we start with you, Dr. Justin Dubin?
Hi, everyone. My name is Dr. Justin Dubin. I'm a urologist who specializes in men's health, male infertility, sexual medicine, testosterone replacement therapy. I'm also very interested in social media and direct-to-consumer telemedicine space. I'm currently a urologist who's practicing in South Florida at Memorial Healthcare Systems. Originally from New Jersey, did my undergrad at Johns Hopkins Medical School at Rutgers, my residency at University of Miami, and my fellowship in men's health at Northwestern. And really excited to be part of this panel today. I'm also the co-host of the Men's Health podcast, Man Up, A Doctor's Guide to Men's Health. So I want to thank everyone for having me. I'm really excited to highlight a lot of the things that's going on in the men's health space.
Thank you. Dr. Fratellone.
I'm Dr. Patrick Fratellone. I'm an integrative physician and a cardiologist. I practice in New York City and Fairfield, Connecticut. This is my 30th year practicing. I did a fellowship in integrative medicine with Andrew Weil after I worked for Dr. Robert Atkins of the Atkins Diet. And when he passed away, I inherited his practice, and I went on to do integrative medicine with cardiology. So I take the best of conventional medicine and the best of integrative medicine and put them together to help patients. My practice is more about prevention.
Thank you. Dr. Mintz.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Matthew Mintz. I'm an internal medicine and primary care physician. Also, like Dr. Fratellone, I am also an integrative and functional medicine physician as well, so doing both conventional medicine and integrative functional medicine. I specialize in men's health, women's health. I do longevity and anti-aging medicine. I also do care for sick people, such as long COVID, mast cell activations, POTS, things like that. I was trained at George Washington University and stayed there as full-time faculty for about 20 years. And then I started my private practice about 7 years ago. And I'm located in Rockville, Maryland, just outside of Washington, D.C.
Thank you. And Leticia.
Hi, everybody. My name is Leticia Trevino. I'm the product specialist at Beurer North America. It's a health and wellness company, and we've been around since 1919. And we're excited to go ahead and dive deep into the health and wellness of men.
What do you believe prevents most men from visiting the doctor to stay on top of their health? I think we should start that one with the primary care, because that's where they would probably
Sure, absolutely. I think it's multifactorial. Men tend to be very stubborn and not very bright about their health care, but I think we're a reality. We tend to have more of a philosophy. If it's not broke, then why do we fix it? I like to use with my patients sort of the car analogy. When you buy a new car, it tells you what the routine maintenance is. You get your oil changed every 3,000 miles, et cetera. And the human body doesn't really have that, or at least men are not aware of what those routine things are. So there's an educational gap as well. There's a fear factor too. Women touch the healthcare system a lot earlier in age than men do, so they have a bigger level of comfort. So I think it's a multifactorial, but it is generally true that unless you have a chronic disease early in life, like juvenile rheumatoid arthritis, where you're seeing the doctor a lot, most men, basically once they leave college, unless they get injured, they don't see their doctor until their wife or girlfriend tells them, hey, you need to go see a doctor. So that's been my experience.
Workaholics, they work on Wall Street, they don't think to go to the doctor. I agree with Dr. Mintz. Fear is a big factor. They don't want to find out what's wrong with their prostate or their heart, and they just avoid going until maybe they'll see the internist and he'll see his cholesterol is high, and then they'll say, I think you need to see a cardiologist to get a stress test.
Yeah, and I think I agree with both of these guys. One of the common patient I see is a 45-year-old guy. He comes in for erectile dysfunction. I ask him how many medical problems he has. He says he has none. He's morbidly obese. He doesn't look very healthy. And I say, well, when's the last time you went to the doctor? He said 30 years ago. So I say, well, listen, you probably have no one has a problem if you don't go to the doctor. But I do think that there is this huge stigma in men's health that, guys, they have these pictures of themselves as providers, the lead of the house. They want to fix their problems themselves. They don't want to admit that they have problems because they don't want to show weakness. And there's an analogy that I like to use. I call it the IKEA problem. For people who are older, they would understand it as the directions problem, where, men, we have this problem that we want to fix. And we want to fix it ourselves. So, if I buy IKEA furniture, I am not looking at the directions. I'm just not. I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to figure this problem out myself. And I'm going to spend, instead of 30 minutes, I'm going to spend about 2 hours trying to build this chair. And at the end of it, the chair is going to be a little bit wonky and it's not really going to work the way I want. And I'm going to go back and I'm going to find those directions. And then I'm going to do it right. And I think that that's what men oftentimes do with their health. They don't want to admit they have a problem. They want to try and fix it themselves. They go online, they try to find a solution. And then, at best, you're just delaying your care. At worst, you're spending a lot of money. You're putting your body at risk for things that don't work. And that's kind of where we're at as a society now with men. We just want to try to find a solution without going to the doctor. And if we can fix it ourselves, we will. We have to understand and educate our patients on misinformation online and understanding how to find good, accurate information so that they can help themselves and hopefully motivate themselves to get to the doctor.
Dr. Mintz?
Yeah, I'm going to give two, actually. I can't figure out which is the top one, so I'm going to give you two. And that's environment and lifestyle. And for the first time, this just came out of publication not too long ago. In the United States, we've finally seen a decline in life expectancy. So for decades, it was going up and up and up and up. In the last few years, it just came down. Now, some of that was due to other things like the opioid epidemic and COVID, but this trend was seen even before the even before COVID happened. And the other thing that's interesting is it's unique to the United States because other westernized countries are not seeing that. So there's something about us and our environment in the U.S. that's different. And so I agree with Dr. Fratellone that heart disease is the #1 killer, but what's leading to that heart disease? It's the lifestyle choices that we're making. We're not active, we're not moving, we're sitting at a desk all day, we're indoors, not outdoors. We're eating the standard American diet of fast food and lots of carbohydrates and lots of processed food. We're seeing a lot about ultra processed food and that. And then with our environment, we're under a horrible heat wave here on the East Coast, actually the whole country. But there's toxins out there in the foods that even if you go to like a Whole Foods and get all the organic food, you're still not getting the high quality food that you can get in other countries, and there's still glycophospholates everywhere. So these are, it's a lot of issues, but those to me are the big to all of our health, not just men's health.
100%.
Yeah.
So what do we do? What do patients do? They come to you once a year. What else do they do? What do they do at home?
Well, listen, Dr. Mintz said, it's what you eat, it's what you drink, right? So what you eat, you have to pick better choices of food. We do know that sugar is bad, but people can't get that through their mind. Ultra-processed food, even worse. So the thing is, there are some educational programs, believe it or not, on Netflix, that when you watch them, you look at them and you say, wow, we don't have the cleanest food in the United States. We do not have a clean environment. So I think Dr. Mintz is right. You have to really look at your environment. What you eat, what you drink, do you exercise, do you sit, and do you practice any preventative care? So you said once a year. Well, I have patients, I'm sure all of them have, all the other doctors have patients that come in 3 and 4 times a year because they want to get some people are dedicated to their health. Some people are not. So I think lifestyle all around is really the key to preventing disease.
Okay.
Yeah, one thing that we typically say in urology is what's good for your heart is good for your parts. And that includes all dietary lifestyle factors. And I think that oftentimes it takes a little bit of, wake up call to kind of see that, and there's a lot of factors that I think we'll go into a little bit later, especially in the men's health space that we don't realize impacts our other things, our sexual health, our overall health.
Okay. Anything else that you guys see?
Yeah. If we're talking about the stigma, if we're talking about all these things in Men's Health Month, I think the biggest thing right now that I'm always worried about is misinformation, especially in the men's health space. There's a study that came out. It showed that, before Americans go talk to a doctor, and this is Americans, not just men, 33% of them turn to YouTube, 20% turn to TikTok, 37% of Americans turn to influencers for health advice prior to consulting a doctor. And concerning 50% of Americans have purchased a health product online just by seeing from an ad. I'm guilty of that myself. I think we're all technically probably guilty of it. And I think that this misinformation is a huge problem. When you've done studies on these things. If you go to TikTok, Instagram, not only is that information not accurate, it's just often selling a product. If you look, our studies show that most of the people who are giving health information online are not healthcare providers. So if we're talking about guys who don't want to go to the doctor and go online, that's a bigger problem, right? Because they're getting bad advice. And we know that the most popular posts on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok are actually most oftenly the most inaccurate. So when we're talking about getting our health and getting our health right, we have to understand and educate our patients on misinformation online and understanding how to find good, accurate information so that they can help themselves and hopefully motivate themselves to get to the doctor.
What can we recommend to men to help manage their health more proactively?
You have devices that are on the market that you could ask them to take their blood pressure regularly if they're a man with a history of family heart disease. Supplements, I know Dr. Mintz would lose a lot, but I use a lot of coenzyme Q10, whether you're on a statin drug or not, you need it. I think omega-3 is great, but the thing is, what source are you going to get it? That's always controversial. You're going to get it from, are you going to buy a brand that's in GNC, or you're going to get a top quality brand? Since supplements are not governed by the government and there's no law, there's a lot of bad supplements out there.
100%.
And after using them for 30 years, you look at, for instance, red rice yeast. They did a study, the Journal of American Medicine, we call it the Green Journal. There was grades of different red rice yeast out there, which is used for cholesterol. Some people, it was maybe 2% of red rice yeast in the product. But the patient who buys it on the shelf, who does he ask? He goes to the head of the counter, where's the for cholesterol? And they point him to a shelf, and they don't know what they're buying. So I think it's physicians who are in this field of functional medicine, we have to educate our patients about what supplements to get. You can't just buy them, off a website. You have to get quality supplements. And the problem is they'll pay for them. But in the long run, it's better to doing a good supplement than doing a bad supplement that you need 3 times the amount to equal what the good supplement is. So I think there are great supplements out there, but I think you have to find out which are the good ones.
Same thing with tools, right? You want tools that are effectively going to monitor.
Right. You have to ask which tools they're using, if any.
Right. Well, you have the Beurer, which is Leticia, if you want to go over this a little bit, what are some of the tools that we have to monitor that we can ask the doctors how these tools can help them, help their patients. But you have the #1 blood pressure monitor at Walmart, and it's known for being the most accurate blood pressure monitor. So how does that work?
Yeah, so one of the great things about this monitor is that it's not only just a blood pressure monitor. It is, like you said, it's a #1 in Walmart, and it has different features such as the pattern resting indicator. So that indicator is going to tell you if you're sitting correctly for you to go ahead and proceed taking your measurement as well. It has the technology to tell you if the cuff is positioned correctly. And if it's not, then it'll give you a warning sign that you're not able to proceed with taking the measurement. That way, it won't read your false measurement. Aside from that as well, Beurer does have a free Health Manager Pro app, and that app not only syncs to our monitors, but also to our other devices such as body scales, pulse oximeters. It's a full range digital cabinet that we have to offer. That way, whenever you're on the go or your doctors, it's easily pulled up all the information that you need to go ahead and provide your doctors, and they can go ahead and provide you more information as to what's the next steps that you need to make within your life choices.
And how helpful is that helpful to you, physicians?
Yeah, so and I think this is all about trying to sort of tie things together. It's about communication, right? So as Dr. Fratellone was saying, there's a lot of information just about the supplements. And again, and going back to Dr. Dubin's sort of IKEA analogy, you can go crazy looking at all the, not just about the supplements, but what kind of exercise and what kind of food should I eat and what's the right thing for me to do. And it's so individualized. So you have to have that conversation about all of those different things. And yes, ideally you're going to see your doctor at least once a year, maybe more. But people are busy, men are busy, and it's hard to do that. So what's nice about having these tools is that they can collect data on their own and transmit that to you, either in whether it's a virtual visit, in person, or even via email. I email a lot of my patients all the time, and I'll tell them, why don't you use this tool, use this blood pressure monitor? It's what I like about the Brew is that has the Bluetooth, so it can hook to their phone, and so instead of getting a scratchy list of blood pressure numbers, they could just literally email that list to me, and it's nice and printed out with the timestamps and all that stuff. But it's another, these tools are essentially another means of communicating sort of what these these biologic markers are, and putting that all information together, and can make it a very personalized thing. Because I could list a couple of key supplements that I think most people should take, but it's very, very individualized. I could list, here are some things about exercise that you should do, but it's very individualized. So you have to have the conversation, and these tools help inform those decisions, I think. And so I find it very useful.
If anybody has any questions, please put them into the chat box. But Leticia, would you want to just show us all the options of tools that you have available?
Yes, of course. So currently there's going to be a new item that is going on Best Buy, and it's not yet on the market, but it's called the Elite 900. It is a very precise one-piece design. It is rechargeable USB as well. It obviously is going to go ahead and be paired up with the free Health Manager Pro app. And as the doctor,
it's a blood pressure monitor.
Correct. Yes, it's a blood pressure monitor, and it's going to go ahead and go on your arm. As well, that one of the great things about this monitor is that it's LED risk indicator scale. So it's going to go ahead, if you're new to monitoring your health at home, it'll go ahead and give you a scale of green to red. Obviously, the red is going to indicate that it's a high blood pressure reading. As well, we do have the pulse oximeter, and one of the
that's what Dr. Mintz was talking about oxygen. Yeah.
Correct. Yes. You just put it on your arm and you press the power button, and then it'll go ahead and operate, and it'll go ahead and provide you the readings. And the Deluxe 600, this is also a cuff blood pressure monitor that is recently got added to the validationvp.org. So that's going to be one of the newest items for us, as well for another range of line that did get introduced to the validation.org.
Excellent. Okay. Any other questions from anybody? Any parting words from our physicians? Last tips?
I would just like to remind everyone, especially men out there. So, when it comes to the things that I talk about, your sexual health, your fertility status is a window to your overall health, right? All of the things that you do in your life, they impact your penis, they impact your fertility for better or worse. So if it's something that you really want to preserve, you have to go see the guys that are joining me here, because it's all about preventative medicine. We can do some things to, keep you stable, but once we reach a point where your erections really aren't working well, we start becoming more limited in our options. So I do want to stress what these guys have stressed: preventative medicine. Go talk to your doctor. If you want to preserve your fertility, if you want to preserve your sexual health, you really need to think about your overall health.
Thank you.
And I would say you are what you eat. I mean, you have to say that's true. I will say that we have to be more careful of what we put in our bodies and where we live, and all the toxins that are out there, because Dr. Mintz is right. But I really do think men have to take charge, and they can't just be concerned about muscle mass. They have to be concerned about everything. And if you care about what you put in your body, how much water you drink, how much you sleep, overall, that is prevention.
Amazing.
Yeah, so I agree completely. So you have to take charge, but some things that you can do are sort of intuitive. Some things need a little education, but you don't want to wait till there's a problem. Once there's a problem, it's harder to necessarily fix that. So just like going back to my car analogy, just like you would go and get your car tuned up, you want to get your body tuned up. You're not going to wait until your car breaks down to go to the shop. You're going to make sure you get your oil changed and do all of those things. And and the human body is much more complex than an automobile. So you really got to go for a checkup on a regular basis, especially if you're a man over 45, to make sure that everything's working. And then during that time, that's where that education and communication comes in.
Excellent. Thank you. This was informative. It was fun. And I think our attendees learned a lot. Our experts are all available for follow-up interviews if you have any more questions for them. They're great sources and very mediagenic.